Welcome back to Livewire, Dan.
Thank you. It's lovely to be in your new home.
Yes, it's very cozy, isn't it?
It is. It never occurred to me that the It's a Wonderful Life thing could have gone another way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it didn't go well for him this time.
No.
Not at all. So I wanted to talk, because it happened today, I did want to talk about the Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal. You've talked in the past about institutional discrimination being part of the reason that GLBT kids are having a hard time in this country. So I'm wondering what sort of difference you think that this will make in their lives, and maybe how long it'll take to make a difference.
This is going to make a tremendous difference. You know, institutionalized bigotry on the part of the federal government, even state and local governments, it legitimizes and endorses, really, and empowers bullies and bigots and homophobes. So we've kicked one major strut out from the argument that the right-wingers and the haters like to make, that gays and lesbians are a threat to the country, or unfit to serve, or lesser than, or not equal to. And now we've done it with the military. We need to do it next with full marriage equality, and then all...
Right. You know, Dan, this feels a little like the slippery slope that they were talking about in the House of Representatives when they were filibustering.
At first we're going to join the army, and then we're going to want to get married.
Yeah, you're going to want rights. Stuff like rights.
They're addictive, those equal rights things. It's like the crack cocaine of democracy.
They are. They are. What sort of, I mean, do you think that this will have any effect on the people who are serving, you know, in other countries, or even local military people?
Oh, absolutely. There are LGBT people throughout the military now. That's the ridiculous aspect of the whole don't ask, don't tell debate. It's not a debate over whether gays and lesbians should be able to serve. Gays and lesbians are serving now.
Right.
The argument is whether they should be able to serve openly and honestly and with some integrity, and also to be less security risks than they are now. We've really created a regimen under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, where every gay person in the military was told, you have to lie, you have to hide this, which makes them blackmailable if somebody should find out. They would have to choose between being discharged or telling the truth, or lying and concealing it. And potentially every gay and lesbian person in the military was therefore a security risk under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. That ended not today, because it's not over.
Right.
The president's going to sign it, and then there's a process to institute the repeal. It's going to take at least a year.
You know what I hope they'll do? Another study. Just, they haven't done enough studies.
I think they should do another study and then roll it up and stick it up John McCain's ass.
And then the president would actually have to go inside to sign it.
To bravely go where no man has gone before.
President and proctologist. So let's talk about the It Gets Better project. When you saw what was going on with these teen suicides, what was it that made you think a good response would be to create these YouTube videos?
Well, I heard about the suicide of Justin Aberg this summer, and then Billy Lucas in Greensburg, Indiana in early September, and I had the reaction I always had, which was just helplessness, learned helplessness. I wish I could have talked to that kid for 5 minutes and been able to tell him that it gets better. And what occurred to me at JFK Airport when I was just stewing on it was I would never get permission to talk to these kids. The deal for gay and lesbian people for decades has been, once you're 18, you can do what you want. You can come out, you can get away from your hateful family if they hate you, you can make a life for yourself, you can be free. The only thing you can't do is talk to the kids we're currently torturing. And because we'll accuse you of being a pedophile, we'll accuse you of wanting to recruit. And I was just stewing on that, going, I wish I could talk to these, I would never get permission to talk to these kids. And it just occurred to me that in the era of YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, that I didn't need anybody's permission anymore. Yeah. That I could sit down and make a video, and I could speak to them directly and tell them that it gets better. And that's really an important message, because what they're told, they're lied to. They're told that being gay or lesbian, you're going to be miserable, your life won't work out, your family will never accept you. And our lives as gay and lesbian adults disprove all those lies. But LGBT kids, who in places like Greensburg, Indiana, don't know any gay and lesbian adults. They don't see them. And so we wanted to tell them the truth and give them hope for their futures.
Yeah. I mean, it's very powerful.
And the thing that was subversive about it, and there is a really subversive element to it, is that we're no longer, we gave ourselves permission to make these videos and talk to these kids, my boyfriend and I did, and by proxy gave everybody permission to make these videos.
Right.
And everybody has. It's not just one video now, it's 7,000 or 8,000 videos now. And what's subversive about it is we're no longer waiting for permission. We're going to go over the heads of preachers who are telling these kids that God hates them. We're going to go over the heads, if need be, of their own families and reach out to them and tell these kids, whether their parents want us to or not, that they're good and decent and going to be fine and they're going to survive and they're going to have a great and wonderful life. Because, you know, when a 13-year-old kills himself because he's gay, what he's saying is, I can't picture a future for myself with enough joy in it to compensate for the pain I'm in now. And so the videos weren't just about gay and lesbian adults sharing our stories of bullying and how we were there, but sharing our lives now and our joy. And that's really powerful, and I'm hearing from LGBT kids all over the country every day who are watching the videos. And
you've heard from some of these kids and the way that it's changed their lives. And
absolutely.
What are some of the stories that you've heard?
The most heartbreaking ones are really the families where the parents were paralyzed because they knew their kid was gay, but the kid hadn't come out to them yet. They knew their kid was being picked on, and they didn't want to feel like they were picking on their kid by saying, "You are gay, tell us you're gay so we can help you." And they sat down at the computer with their kids who they knew were being bullied for being perceived to be gay, and their kids took that opportunity to come out to their parents because their parents were demonstrating to them in that moment that they would be supportive. And that's been so touching.
Well, and you grew up in the Catholic Church. Both of your parents were really involved in the church. What would have been
really
like
involved,
for you?
not rapey involved. They
right.
weren't that involved. You have to make that distinction now. They weren't co-conspirators. They were very Catholic,
right.
but they weren't...
not rapey.
Yeah.
Sorry. I will make that distinction later.
Like, how involved were you in the Catholic Church now? Sounds so dirty.
The word involved. So if you, as a teenage kid, would have been able to see this YouTube video that you'd made, aside from the whole space-time continuum thing, what sort of effect do you think it could have had on you?
I think it would have really helped. You know, my parents were really Catholic, and I'm really old now, so I'm one of those people that as a teenager, Harvey Milk gave me hope, that his whole argument about come out and kids will hear about an openly gay man being elected to the city council in San Francisco and it'll give them hope. That totally worked. At the same time, my dad was a supporter of Anita Bryant, and very anti-gay. And that really weighed on me. And when I was 13, 14, 15, I thought, well, should I tell them I'm gay and kill them, or should I kill myself and spare them? And it really would have helped to see these videos with gay and lesbian adults talking about how their relationships with their parents healed. You know, it's not all these people it's not videos by people whose parents were waving P flag banners before they came out. In a lot of cases, the people describe a real journey for their families, and their families healed and became whole and learned to accept them. And that, as a gay 14-year-old who was really worried that my family would never accept me, would have been very helpful.
And your mother, you wrote about her in The Commitment so beautifully. You know, your mother really came to be a huge supporter of you.
She was, and
went against the church, really, in that way.
Yeah, she kicked a hole in a stained glass window one day because sort of, metaphorically speaking, the church the church where everyone in our family had always been baptized and buried and married refused to baptize my partner and I's son because we were gay. And, you know, that poor priest who made that call to tell my mother no didn't realize how many assholes one person could actually be after my mother was finished tearing him new ones.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. It was quite a lot.
Yeah, so if you would have known
Can I say assholes on your radio show?
We'll just bleep it.
Okay, sorry about that.
Do you want to say anything else?
Assholes? I don't know.
Oh.
Once you've said assholes, you've said it all.
Right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about media representations, because it feels like there's more media representations out there in mainstream television shows like Glee and Modern Family. And first of all, whether you think that has an effect on the public consciousness. And also, I was sort of fascinated to realize that Modern Family is like the #3 TV show among Republicans. And it's got a gay couple who have a kid, and it just struck me as these are people who are legislating against GLBT people. How can this be on their list of
You know,
favorite
increasingly, rank and file Republicans aren't the ones with the problem with LGBT people. It really is Republican politicians who feel like they have to pander to that rabidly anti-gay part of the Republican base, and that Republican part of the Republican base that's rapidly anti-gay. There are more and more representations of gay and lesbian people on TV. That is tremendously helpful and good. And it's telling the truth about gay and lesbian people. You know, we are part of the culture. We are really more and more out and more integrated. When it comes to LGBT kids, it really is kind of a best of times, worst of times moment. There really hasn't ever been a better time to be an LGBT teenager in this country than right now. If you're in a school with anti-bullying programs and a gay-straight student alliance in perhaps a more progressive part of the country, and at the same time, there hasn't been a worse time to be an LGBT kid. If you're in, say, a private Christian evangelical school in Buck, Egypt somewhere,
right,
where there are no openly gay people organizations, services, no awareness, and no help. That kid is more isolated now and in more danger now than he probably would have been in that same environment 30 years ago. Because, you know, 30 years ago, if you were a gay kid, you could fly under the radar. You know, you're just the weird kid without a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And now the default assumption is you must be gay, and kids are being picked on and terrorized in a way out there in the boonies that they didn't used to be.
Can public policy solve this problem, or is it more pervasive than that? Can you stop bullies with policies?
You can stop bullies with anti-bullying programs in the schools and with gay-straight student alliances and really strong leadership from school administrators and teachers. Unfortunately, in many cases, we've learned with these suicides this fall, people doing the bullying were also the teachers and the school administrators.
Yeah.
In those cases, like the case with Constance McMillan, who was bullied by everybody, the administrator at her school principal, her teachers, and the entire school board. What we need to do is hold those administrators accountable. We need to sue them, and we need to imprison them when they don't do their jobs and protect all students.
So, moving forward, is there going to be an aspect of the It Gets Better project that will, because you don't have anything to do, you're not a very busy guy. Is there going to be an aspect of that that's going to work on policies like this? And
yeah, we're marshaling, you know, the forces we've gathered. We've created a standalone website at itgetsbetter.org. And there's a huge mailing list now. There's all sorts of people who've gotten involved, who've donated. We don't need much money. We're giving most of the money to the Trevor Project so that they can continue to do the outreach that they do and save lives.
And that's a suicide hotline.
It's a suicide hotline for kids in crisis, and to GLSEN, which works to get GSAs and anti-bullying programs into the schools. And what we're doing now is we're preserving and archiving all these videos so that kids who are 8 now, in 6 years when they're 14, will be able to find them. And take the hope and the good advice and the coping strategies that are in them and put them to use in their own lives.
Well, it's an amazing program, and we thank you for creating it. And you're going to be a busy guy in the next couple of days because of the whole don't ask, don't tell thing.
Yeah, I have a lot of backpedaling to do.
Because you're the gay go-to guy.
Increasing. I don't know how you get to go from being sex advice columnist who traffics in like the skeeziest sex practices known to man to the gay go-to guy on cable news, but I somehow did it.
You're a pundit.
I know.
You're
it's
a total
so
pundit. It's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks
I know
for
you're
having
so
me back.
busy. Dan Savage, everybody.